have a dream. Let's make it real. No better time than now. That's like ever. We have a dream. That's like ever. Let's make it real.
I have another amazing guest, and it's going to be even more amazing than the other rest. But we're going to offer something new today, and it'll be amazing. It'll be information that will help the viewers out there. So before I introduce the guest, I will give you a bit of background about him. Amjid Bashir is the guest today, and he has been a producer and a presenter for the last 20 years. Firstly with the Radio Aladin, Glasgow, and now with Awaz FM, where he specialises in hosting controversial discussion shows which the ethnic minority community often shy away from. He is a leading social media blogger and has his own Facebook page and YouTube channel called the M Word TV. Although he is a serial entrepreneur, he spends much of his time engaged with community activities such as the Princess Trust Mosaic Mentoring Group and helping registered charities. That's amazing, isn't it? He's also a Justice of the Peace, and that's even more amazing. Finally, but not least, he is a student of Islamic knowledge and has studied with two of Scotland's leading scholars for over 9 years. So he has done so much. He's doing amazing work, like you see. I don't know how he does it, juggling so many roles. And he actually making a lot of difference in people's lives. So I'd like to introduce say again?
Amjid Bashir.
Amjid Bashir. That shows you what goes on TV, That's, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for the introduction, but I don't think I'm doing amazing work. I think there's lots of good people out there in Glasgow that are doing really, really excellent work. So.
Look, I mean, you're on the radio. I mean, you've Awaz FM. You host a show there every week, is it?
Yeah, we like you said, and I was thinking back, almost for the last 20 odd years, maybe more. I started off with Radio Ramadan, and now with the Buzz. And what the sort of shows that we like doing are the shows that are quite passionate to me, controversial shows. We like to stir it up. We like to talk about things that people don't normally talk about, especially within our communities.
Yeah.
And I feel strongly that, you have your mosques, you have your madrasas, and some of these issues aren't really particularly discussed there. And platforms like the radio are a good way to make people aware about some of the issues. And we don't profess to fixing all the problems. What we try and do is raise awareness and let people think about it and initiate people to try and do something about it. So that's what we do.
Well, I think that's the way to grow. I think we need to push people's boundaries. Get people to think in a different way. I think that's exactly.
I think I do that quite well, and I probably get myself into a lot of trouble with a lot of people. But mashallah, what I try to do is, whenever we're doing any kind of show, I try and think about the person on the street, the Joe public. What is it that they would like me to ask? What is it that they would want us to talk about? And I think that's why our shows are extremely popular. We've got, mashallah, we've got very good, decent following. But again, I feel that there's not a platform where these things can be discussed. And hence the reason why I do it. And I was talking to you early on, I'm going to actually bring this onto a social media platform very soon as well. But there's so many things, whether it's to do with marriages, whether it's to do with divorce, whether it's to do with abuse. Even, we've covered even subjects like child abuse amongst the community. And I remember when we did that show, I had about 11 or 12 people phone me up prior to the show who were from Glasgow, who had been victims of child abuse. And you think it doesn't happen on our doorstep, but it does. And you think that it happens elsewhere. And these are cases where, Asians, Muslims, Hindu, Sikhs have been abused either by family members or people close to them within Glasgow. And it's, it's a disturbing thing. But and we talk about, some of the issues around say for example mosques, or just generally, we will cover anything basically, as long as it's topical. People want us to talk about it, we'll do that.
You must get a lot of people who are not really happy about topics you talk. I mean, well, yeah.
I do. It'll be interesting because people don't realize the amount of stress we go through. Some of the shows, especially when you talk about mosques, people get very defensive, and they see that as you trying to attack mosques, and it's really far from it. I am a compassionate supporter of mosques. I volunteer at a local mosque here, and I do see the great work. Yeah, I also believe there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And I on social media, I always champion the great work that the mosques do. But I think it's perfectly okay to talk about mosques and not to be accused of mosque bashing. Yeah, if you see something wrong, then you have to try and work with the mosques, number one, firstly, and you should try and highlight those areas in a very constructive manner. You know, my job is never to embarrass or shame any organization or individual. That's not my job. My job is really to raise awareness on different issues, and if we can make our community better, then why not? And I'm just, you know, all these things that you mentioned, it all comes back down to the fact that you love your community and you want the best for your community.
Yeah. What's this justice of the peace? How does that came? I mean, you don't see many Asians doing that.
Yeah, justice of the peace is
How does-
basically, I am a justice of the peace, which means I'm a district judge. I sit in district courts, and I preside over criminal cases, minor criminal cases. There's 3 courts in the land. There's the district court, where the minor criminal cases are dealt with. Then there's the sheriff court that deal with more serious cases, and finally there's the high court that deals with the ultra serious. So anything minor like assault, breach of the peace, all traffic violations come my way. So people like me sit on these courts, and the idea is the person you're basically a judge, and the idea is you know, they take lay people. As long as you've got the ability to look at evidence, be rational in your thinking, weigh up evidence, be a good communicator, you know, weigh up all the angles, and then obviously you listen to a case, you make a decision on whether the person is guilty or not, having listened to all the entire case, and then you sentence people.
So do that once a month, or how often are you called to?
I do that
discuss
once a month. I could do it more, but again, having a very busy life, it's very difficult to do. I could do it once a week if I wanted to, but the minimum I've got to do it once a month. But to be honest, it's quite rewarding, because what happens is, you know, you exercise justice. And you know, one of the points you mentioned was me being an Islamic studies student, and everything you learn about, and it's fascinating that the different legal systems around the world have a lot of similarities. They're based on evidence and based on you know, collaborating evidence. So it all kind of comes into play. But it's a great sense of achievement when you've gone away at the end of the day and you've done some justice, real justice. You're really impacting on people's life. And it's not always the letter of the law, it's the spirit of the law as well.
Yeah. When we spoke yesterday, and you said about, because we had a good laugh about, that the topic of today is live your life fully, you know, and you were saying about, you know, you want to live your life, you want to do so many things, you just realize a life is too short, and we had this idea of, you know, I thought you would, you know, you climb mountains and all, you've done various things, not scuba diving,
That's the one thing I've not
You
done.
haven't done scuba diving. I've done
No,
scuba
I
diving.
can't swim, so that's a
Oh
slight
right,
kind
maybe
of
that's why.
caveat.
So you have
to-
done various things, but we had, and you said maybe it's midlife crisis. Are you going through a midlife crisis because you seem to be like, I want to do this, that?
It probably is, but I keep on telling people that I've been going through a midlife crisis for the last 30 years, so since the age of 20. But it really comes down to something even more fundamental than that.
Yeah.
As you know, and maybe some of the people out there know that I lost my brother 2 years ago after a short battle with cancer. He got diagnosed with cancer, and 6 weeks later he passed away at the age of 45 years old. That dramatically affected me and my family. And when you have someone young like that pass away, it changes your whole outlook on life. You realize that suddenly, you've not got, decades or, before death hits you, you think, I've got lots of time. But when it hits you and it hits your younger sibling or someone very close to you, you realize that life is limited. And, you're not guaranteed whether you get a day, a year, 10 years. So that had a major shift in me. And I felt, that and also reaching the age of 50, that itself also has a major impact on you as well. Because I think I'm still middle-aged. I think I am.
Yes.
But so all those things coupled together, I felt that I had to live life to the max. And I just felt, and I was lucky that a couple of years ago, one of my friends, a guy called Savda Sadik, that many of you know, he kind of roped me into a challenge to climb Mount Tubkal, which was the second highest mountain in Africa. Wow. And I had never climbed a mountain. And I remember going to Benin with my wife and my kids, and it was a charity challenge. It was for the Friends of Al-Aqsa. And I got at the car park and I walked 2 minutes. And my young son was with us. He was about a year old. And I made the excuse with my wife that my son needs to go back and I'll take him to the car park. I'll take him to the car. And my wife continued and my kids continued. My wife wanted to carry on. So for me, that was a really a good cop out. And honestly, and a few years later, when this challenge came, I thought, why not? But in preparation for that challenge, we started to climb a lot of mountains. We started to climb mountains like Ben Nevis, Benin, various other ones that we did. And suddenly, I realized that, you can climb mountains. I'm not a guy that goes to the gym. I'm not a guy who plays football. I'm not a very sporty guy.
Yeah.
And see, if anyone asked me, can you climb mountains? I would have said, are you crazy? But there I was climbing the mountains with these guys and, great team. And finally, the pinnacle was climbing Mount Tubkal. And when you're at the top, it's such a beautiful view. And you could see the Sahara Desert 200 miles away, yeah? And the sense of achievement. And I realized one thing, it's not about ability, it's about a mental attitude. And you could probably do anything if you really put your mind to it. So that was one thing, and then I did other charity events like cycling 250 kilometers in Spain last year for another charity. And at my age, I'm diabetic. I've got high cholesterol. I've probably got high blood pressure. Yeah, I have high blood pressure. But on paper, it looks like a real difficulty. But yes, I am in pain. But it's mind over matter. And the thing that kept me going, even with the cycling, particularly with the cycling, was my brother's not here to enjoy that. And I couldn't give up because of him. And it doesn't matter how much pain I was in or agony, I had to continue. But at the end of it, you feel like $1 million. Honestly, you feel great, the fact that you've done this achievement. So, and if I can do it, honestly, everyone out there can do it. Especially if you're young, my advice is go out and live life.
Wow, you're a very inspirational person.
I don't think so.
as you said, we were talking about earlier that you know, your radio show, you're behind. Nobody's actually seeing you. They're listening to your voice.
Well,
but now they're seeing you as a person. I mean, I'm
Well,
sure people love you.
we do a Facebook Live as
Yeah,
well, but
yeah.
it's not like this, a proper TV show. And I was telling you, I was a bit kind of nervous doing this, yeah.
Oh, no, you're a natural.
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
You're natural.
I've got, like they say, I've got a face for radio.
So it's amazing that, as you said, you're just doing things. Even you mentioned some of the health issues you may have, some things that maybe, and and there may be people out there who maybe have I mean, some minor health issues, and maybe have excuses saying I can't do this because of this reason. And I know a few people out there say, "Oh, I got a headache. I can't go and do this because I've got a sore head, or my finger's sore or something like that." But somebody like you, you're actually an inspiration to so many people that you're just going out and doing it.
To be honest, I don't think I'm an inspiration. I'm just a bit mad. That's all it is.
I don't think you're mad. I mean, I think that's what. Yeah. Well,
I remember I've been through some unique situations with my brother passing away,
Yeah.
getting to that age of 50. So I mean, one of the other things I did recently was I passed my motorbike test. Yeah. So I'm now thinking of getting a motorbike, and if that's not a midlife crisis, I'm not sure what it is. My wife jokes with me all the time. But
when people try to do things in their life, or trying to do new things, and people think, "Oh, it must be midlife crisis," or "You must be mad." I don't think so. It's like, because we have desires and goals when we were younger, and we don't achieve it because of certain things in our life, that might happen. But it doesn't matter what age you are, because I see people, in their 80s doing totally, climbing the mountain or something. You can see stuff on the YouTube. It's amazing stuff people are doing. They're not mad, but they have a desire, they have a goals. Maybe when they were younger, they wanted to climb a mountain or become, I don't know, whatever it is they wanted to do, and they're just doing it.
they should do it.
But we stop ourselves because of society or other people have got responsibilities, we've got kids, we make all the excuses.
To be honest, yeah, we make excuses. I don't think just because we're married or society, I don't think that's the reason why we stop it. I think there's something inside, a voice inside of us that's saying, it's okay, you don't need to do it, you can't be bothered to do it. And it comes down to laziness, yeah.
But that could be, yeah, I do agree with you.
And
Some people like that, but other people...
I think the majority of people are like that. And all these challenges that I do, the amount of people that come to me, and normally what happens with these challenges, I will send out messages, broadcast, and spam people, and many people will agree to that. I'm going to spam you soon as well. But many people will agree that, they get these messages saying, look, we're about to do this challenge, we're looking for volunteers, and very few people come forward. And normally it's the same 20 or 30 people that are doing it. And when we make our videos, and whenever I do these things, I always vlog about it, or I talk about it. And at the end, people say, oh, wish we could have gone. But the question is, it's not enough wishing. You just need to do something. You need to number one, get off your seat, make that approach. And honestly, if someone like me at my age and all my illnesses can do it, then seriously, many people are in a better shape than I am, and they could do it much better than I could. Mm-hmm. But again, I feel that it's just that voice inside you saying that you can't do it, or you don't have time for it. But honestly, and I can guarantee that the only person who really, really benefits, right, apart from the people that you're trying to help out, the charities, the second biggest recipient of this is yourself, because you feel great. Mm-hmm. I lost a lot of weight when I was doing climbing, and it's honestly one of the best. And I've got to give out two shouts out to two organisations here, Step Up Scotland and Boots and Beards, because they're two, mashallah, really great organisations that recently have started to take a lot of people from the BME or the Asians on these treks. And I'm going on a trek on Sunday with Step Up Scotland. Uh-huh. And honestly, there's like 50 or 60 people. Most of them are women here. The guys are a bit more lazier than the women for some reason. I don't know what that is. But it's a great way to see this beautiful natural scenery we've got around us. but it's also a great way to network. It's a great way to mingle with other people, and you know, you have a great day out, and it's a great way to get more healthier. And so
if our viewers wanted to join the trek, would they able to do that?
hopefully we'll get you to join as well. Can we get a commitment
Yes.
from you as well?
Yes, why
That's
not?
fine.
Yes,
You heard it here.
I'll join the trek.
Yes. No, but if they want to join, you Step Up Scotland on Facebook or Boots and Beards, both great organisations. So yeah, they can do it.
Wow.
And if they need any advice, they can get in touch with myself or some of these guys.
Oh, well, yeah. So we were talking about, before we came to the show, we were talking about, funny enough, marriage is a relationship. And we were just having a laugh about relationship and about women, what women think about men, and you were saying about communication. There's usually some communication issues with not all marriages, or doesn't matter, marriages, partners, whatever you want to call it, that women, and I was saying to you that I was reading a book called Men from Mars, Women for Venus, and I found it really helpful for my life. I really wanted to understand men, and I know you in your radio shows, you have got a lot of people phoning in with issues, ladies as well, maybe with relationship issues as well, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the context of that is, number one, for the last 20 years, we've done a lot of social issues, and one of the big issues out there is marriage, whether it's marriage difficulties, marriage breakdown, divorce, living with in-laws. So we've done a lot of those shows, and I've been blessed that I've had guests like Sheikh Hamad Jamil and Sheikh Ridwan, some of the leading scholars within Scotland, coming in, and being one of Sheikh Hamad and Sheikh Ridwan's advanced high syllabus students, we cover a lot of the Islamic angles around divorce and marriage. So people will approach me due to the fact that I've done shows, and due to the fact that I'm an Islamic student, and they will talk about these issues. And having been on Sheikh Hamad's marriage course as well, helping out with that as well, you learn a lot about marriages and some of the issues that people go through, and communication is one of them. And you know, men are I've not read that book, but Sheikh Hamad talks about that book, and he talks about how men and women are very different in terms of how they see things. And one of the big mistakes we can do is assume that the other sex, their way of understanding or their way of communication has to be the same as ours. They've got different ways to deal with it, and it all comes down to communication, and it comes down to an understanding from both sexes that the other is different. And just because they don't do it the same way as you doesn't mean that they're not interested, or they're nagging, or they're not responsive. And one of the interesting things about this book is, I've not read it, but Sheikh Hamad talks about it. He goes that in the old days, in the back in the cave times sort of scenario, the man would go out and he would do his hunt, and he'd come back and he'd put it there, and the woman would cook for it, and the man would then go and gaze into the fire. He'd do fire gazing. And he describes that as a way of, you know, everyone needs their time to process whatever's happened in the day, to switch off. And for those men, it was known as fire gazing. And in today's current climate, similarly, when the man comes home or he's come back, the fire gazing equivalent is watching TV and just vegging. And sometimes most men will just be staring but not understand. But it goes back to that fire gazing. And obviously women need their time as well. They need ways where they can switch off, and it's difficult because when you're a full-time mother, you're having to look after children. So when you come home, when your husband comes home, you want that interaction with the adult, with another adult, and that the man wants to just fire gaze. So that's where some of the issues occur, and it's all about understanding what each other needs.
What I understood from that book, the Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, was that it described as a man as like a rubber band, you know, you stretch a man, goes further away and further away, and eventually comes back. So you need to let that man stretch and stretch and stretch,
Yeah.
and then he'll come back. So
But that applies to both women, and men.
but women, what women need, and what men don't understand is women need someone that would listen, not respond or give, you know, they're not looking for an answer, they just want a guy to listen.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not a marriage counsellor. I'm not
no,
a qualified
no,
guy.
it's-
But I can give you certainly some of the feedback that we've had on our
Feedback on the
shows.
side, yeah.
You're right. Women do want their men to listen. However, the men also want their time to do their fire gazing.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
so you know, sometimes it's good to let them do their fire gazing, and then sort of communicate. And it's all about communication, effective communication. I don't get it right with my wife, and my wife doesn't get it right with us. But the point is, first thing is you have to understand what the different issues are.
I totally agree when you said.
And my wife, she probably disagree with a lot of things I've said today.
No, I do think men need their own space, and you just leave them if they want to watch football or whatever it
Whatever
is.
they want to do.
Whatever they're into.
Watch Big
just
Brother.
Big Brother.
Whatever it
And
takes.
just let them be, and eventually set
They
that
will.
rubber band, and eventually they're like,
They
after
will
they
come
have
back.
that, come back.
The only
That's-
danger is stretching the rubber band too much may snap the rubber band, but that's a different scenario.
yeah, it could stop it, but the snap happens when the women keep pushing and pushing, and it goes poof.
But
So-
you get some men pushing as well. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, I deal with a lot of sisters that call me up, going through some
Yeah.
serious marital turmoil. They're either looking for, they're either being abused or they're looking for a way out, and sometimes they can't get to the sheikhs and sometimes because they see me on radio talking about it, they see me as a person that they can speak to. And my first point of call is always to direct them to these organizations that specialize in it, because like I say, I'm not an expert, but sometimes people just want to listen. They just want someone to listen, and that's it.
That's exactly.
Yeah, and some, so there's a lot of issues with, there are so many relationships within the community that are literally, in turmoil, and it's unfortunately, it's something that the problem is people leave it too late, and people have to really deal with these things at an earlier stage rather than wait till it gets to the point of divorce, and then it's very difficult to come back to once everything's broken down. Sometimes you have to recognize that there are issues and get that intervention before. And again, there's Unity Family Services that deal with that. Sheikh Amal deals with that. He helps and counsels couples. And there's many other marriage counseling services like Spark. And there's a number of sisters within the community who are marriage counselors. So, and I honestly feel that there's no shame about going out and seeking help, because our community they feel very embarrassed to talk to someone else. And you don't have to talk to another Asian. There are many non-Asians out there that you can talk to. But, for some reason they will let it get to the worst scenario and say that, and they'll break up without actually exercising everything out there to try and salvage that marriage. How can you say that we've tried everything when you really haven't, when you've not tried counseling, whether you've not tried other, arbitration or even a trial separation? That can sometimes make couples reconsider how they feel about each other.
Wow.
Like I said, I'm not a marriage counselor, but having the luxury of doing many shows on this, you hear from many experts.
Well, good that they tune into your radio show and listen to you, and I suppose to get a bit of direction, which direction to go to if they're a bit lost, not sure where to.
Yeah, and that's what we do.
As well,
It's
so
about raising awareness.
awareness of it, yeah.
And like I said, there really isn't many platforms where people can talk about that. Like I said, the mosques don't really talk about things like that. And I honestly feel that some of the religious organizations out there, whether it's mosques or gurdwaras, have to be more proactive in dealing with some of the issues. You know, we've got massive issues with drugs and alcohol on our streets. Our kids are the younger generation here. There's a real epidemic of alcohol abuse and drugs abuse. Not with everyone, but large enough that, you know, it's of concern.
Good. Another thing you mentioned on your bio here, you're a blogger.
A vlogger, yeah.
A vlogger. I was talking about a blogger and a video blogger, I would say, and a
A vlogger is a video blogger.
A video blogger, and other blogger is someone who writes articles, written blogs and things like that. So how long have you been doing that for, blogging for?
I think with Facebook, I've been sort of writing since 2008 or something, in the early days, because and the video blogging actually only happened when I was climbing that mountain, Tibkal, and I made a video, and suddenly I'm getting a lot of people viewing it, and I thought, hold on a second, this is a very good way to encourage other people to do it. And I don't make video blogs to be well known or to be famous. The idea about my video blogs is quite simply to encourage other people. Everything I do is really it's about awareness and to make and tell people, if a guy like me at my age with all my illnesses can do it, then you guys can do it. And that's what it's about.
You
and
keep
it's
saying
about
all your
awareness.
age.
Yeah.
Stop talking about your age. You're young.
I am.
No, you can. So they could actually find out on Facebook all your blogs or your video
Amjad
blogs.
Bashir or the M Word on Facebook. If you look, I've got a page there, and I've got a YouTube channel there as well. And but the thing is, I don't talk about just sort of trekking. I will talk about. I recently came back from Jerusalem, and I'll make videos on various on for example, Masjid al-Aqsa. I'll make a video on Bethlehem. You know, wherever I go, I make video blogs in some of the places I visit, just to show people the vast beauty that's out there and the great history we've got out there. And even when I went to Pakistan a couple of years ago, you know, I made a video blog because I pulled off, and there was someone making one of these chapli kebabs on the street, and I made a video blog, and that honestly got a lot of people viewing it. But it was I'm not sure. I never had that kebab, but it looked really dodgy. But the point is, it was interesting to see life within Pakistan, of everyday life. So I'll do things like that. Anything that's of interest that I think that, you know, people might like, then why not record it?
I think that's what I think about having. Now we've got the phones, any phones, you could just go and start recording, doing your video blogging anywhere in the world, you know, traveling. Ooh, you know.
I think my family are a bit sick and tired of it. My kids run whenever I get the phone out, but that's a different story. But again, it's all about awareness. We can all do that, and it's about, you know, and the thing about social media is, some people are very anti-social media, but remember, the power is in your hands. It's up to you what you put on. I put on whatever I feel I want to put on, and what I don't want to put on, I won't put on. So you won't see much stuff about my personal life. My wife refuses to come on any of my video blogs, and I seldom put my kids on. On the odd occasion I might, but I seldom talk about, you know, what I do as a day job or some of even the Justice of the Peace thing. This is the first time I'm actually speaking about it.
Everyone who knows now.
Yeah, everyone who knows that. But you know, the power is in your hands. You can decide what you want to put on, and social media can be used as a great tool. I mean, the show you're doing, you're probably reaching thousands of people, and there's some benefit that's coming out. You're talking about health, you're talking about mental well-being, and there'll be someone out there who's going to benefit. And that's similar to whether you're making a radio show or making video blogs. Even if it benefits one person, then is it not worth it?
Oh, definitely worth it, definitely. That's why I wake up every morning, I put a quote on my Facebook. And I remember I starting this years and years ago, and I thought, if that one person reads it and makes a difference in their life, I've done my,
Yeah.
and I've been doing that, try to do that every single morning when I get up, and had amazing feedback from people saying, I love your quotes, as though you're speaking to me, they were saying, and that even made me more motivated. I was like, wow. I didn't realize I was doing it. I'm thinking, okay, if I could make one person, like a difference in one person's life, and then getting so many feedback. And when you were saying to me, you've been kind of watching me years of what I've been doing on social media, trying to build my brand. And
I said to Aladin, Aladin's a friend of one of my cousins, so we got, mashallah, mutual friends or family together. But Aladin, I've seen her over the last few years, and she's really worked hard building a brand. And to be honest, we need more strong women in our community that are trailblazers, and certainly Aladin is one of them. And this is one of the reasons why I came to the show, because I think it's important to champion women and to empower women. And by what Aladin is doing, she's she's doing that. She's got a brand. She's a very serious entrepreneur. She's a broadcaster. So we have to champion people like that.
Yeah, we need to. We need more men behind women like that, championing women, empowering women.
To be honest, there are many of us out there.
They are, yeah. I think more obviously they are. I do agree, and I'm so lucky to have many of my friends who are male who are encouraging me to do that. And I'm just saying that maybe women who out there maybe feel they're not getting the encouragement from maybe male members of their own family, maybe that's what I'm thinking about. But
sometimes it comes down to sort of, how can I put it, cultural stereotypes that certain male members in our community have, and that's something that they have to kind of break away from, because there's nothing wrong with going out, being a businesswoman, being a broadcaster. And our community has this, how can I put it, sometimes our community can be a bit sexist, to say the least. Yeah, but not everyone's like that. I know many men that are very supportive and will champion women's rights. All my friends, alhamdulillah, they're very similar to what I am, and the viewpoint. And just because they're not out there shouting at the top of the mountains, and doesn't mean that they don't exist. And you've got to also bear in mind that not everyone has a platform that they can speak. People are speaking, but they're not being heard, and that's meant. And obviously, women especially need that empowerment and need to be heard. And I'm for that. And long may it continue.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. I mean, before we go, we haven't got much time left, but your radio show is on, is it every Thursday?
Every second Thursday. I'm on tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to talk about detox and diets. So we've got a couple of interesting guests, but I'm on every 2 weeks. But what I will be doing soon is doing a similar show like what you're doing. I'm discussing some of the issues that we talked about. And hopefully I'll get you on as a guest. So,
I'd love to.
Yeah, but thank you very much for inviting me here, and I've really enjoyed it. It's amazing how 45 minutes goes by so quickly.
That's what I was saying. I mean, all my guests come along, and it's just like when you connect with, when you enjoy the conversation, that's how time flies. That's the best thing about that. Before we go, just a quick, can you give a wee thing about mention about the mentoring program you do?
Yeah.
We didn't go over.
I mean, one of the things that I'm involved in is Mosaic, which is part of the Princess Trust, and that involves mentoring young Muslims or BME in school, sort of 13, 14-year-olds. So you go into school and you mentor them for 1 hour over a period of 6 months. And honestly, some of these kids are coming from very difficult sort of family environments, and when they see role models that have been, positive role models. You don't have to be a successful businessman or an entrepreneur or at the top of your game, as long as they can see that there's people out there that have, you know, done well in what, I mean, we've had mentors that are housewives, that are directors, that are, you know, teachers. It doesn't mean that you have to be, you know, some extraordinary professional, as long as you can, everyone's got something that they can show off in terms of a good attribute. So when these kids see positive role models, it gives them aspirations. And as a kid, that when I was at school, my careers advisor said to me that I wouldn't be able to study, go on to further education, and I should join some kind of youth training scheme. I was lucky that I moved to Glasgow and went to university, did a degree and a master's.
Wow.
But that encouragement is really important. So yeah, do get involved. And my advice is volunteer, go out, get involved in the community. There are so many things you can do. And really, if we want to make our community better, we all have to stand up and get involved.
Wow, thank you for that. I'm going to have a quick see if the comments, if anyone got any questions before we go. That would be good. So, this is going. So there's a lot of comments saying people love. People love. There's not really questions that have come up. I could see at the moment, but everyone loved the show and everything that you've shared. Is people are really benefiting from the information that you've given out today. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
inviting
time.
Thank you very much for
and
inviting
short
me.
notice.
No problem.
That's my phone going on.
Thank you for the short notice for coming on, and I'm sure a lot of people love the stuff you're talking about. I'm sure they'll be listening on your radio show every Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow you're on. Tomorrow. What time again?
7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I'm on every 2 weeks, but we also have our other show with Shokataksi, who's on. We alternate between us, so it's always Thursday 7 to 9. So you'll either catch me or Shokataksi, and with me is also Rizi Muhammad.
Wow, so I'll be tuning in. And the trekking side of, you could let me know about
Yes,
that.
I'm going to probably harass you and get you out there as well.
Oh my God, I need to get my walking shoes and all this stuff on. Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. Well, thank you everybody. Thank you for kind of joining. You can see, thank you Amish Bashir for coming on and sharing his, you know, his journey, his knowledge, and he's an inspiration. I know he says he's not, but I think he is an inspiration. And please kind of tune into his radio show tomorrow between 7 and 9, and I definitely will be listening to him as well. So every week I'm having amazing guests, and each one of them is inspirational. This is the idea of this show, is to get people on and share the journey, the knowledge and experience with the viewers out there, and maybe you know, maybe take that in your life and maybe put that into practice. This is the idea of this show. But we've also got another amazing guest next week, a lady called Alison, who we're talking about yoga. So if you're interested in yoga, or if you want to know more about it, please tune in next week. So she's another inspirational lady that will be coming on next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So anyway, I want to say to all the viewers, thank you for just empowering me and supporting me and coming on every single Wednesday, and being there and supporting me. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this show. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that, and I hope to see you next week. And thank you again. I hope everybody has a lovely week, and see you next week. Bye.
If you have a dream